5 types of people you must avoid in old age, even if they're family. Hey there, my friend. Let me ask you something. Have you ever sat back and thought about the people in your life? The ones you spend your time with, open your heart to, and even share your struggles with? Now here's the real question. Are those people lifting you up, or are they weighing you down? You see, as we get older, life has a way of showing us who truly belongs in our corner. It's like an unspoken law of aging. Our time, our energy, and even our patience become some of the most precious things we have. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves access to those things. And yes, sometimes that even includes family. I get it. Family is supposed to mean everything, right? Blood is thicker than water and all that. But what happens when that bond feels more like a chain? What do you do when certain people, yes, even family, leave you feeling drained, disrespected, or worse, invisible? That's what we're diving into today. Now let me make this clear. This isn't about harboring resentment or cutting people off just because they annoyed you once. This is about your peace, your happiness, and your ability to enjoy the years you've worked so hard to reach. And believe me, you've earned that right. Think of your life as a garden. You've spent decades planting seeds, nurturing relationships, and growing into the person you are today. But sometimes weeds sneak in. Those toxic connections that choke out your joy and make it harder for the good things in your life to flourish. That's what we're going to talk about today. The 5 kinds of people you absolutely must avoid as you grow older, even if they're family. And trust me, when you start to see these patterns, it'll feel like a weight lifting off your shoulders. So stick with me, because what we're about to discuss isn't just about who to avoid, it's about who you should prioritize. It's about creating space for the relationships that truly matter, the ones that make you feel loved, appreciated, and valued. Whether you're watching this for yourself or thinking about someone you care about, this message is for you. Because here's the thing, your happiness isn't optional, it's essential. Now grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's talk about how you can protect your peace in these golden years. I promise you, this conversation might just change the way you see your relationships forever. Let's get started. Type 1. The emotional parasite. All right, let's kick this off by talking about the first type of person you absolutely need to avoid in your older years. The emotional parasite. And let me tell you, these people are everywhere. You might not even realize it, but they're probably sitting right there in your contact list. They're the ones who treat you like their personal therapist, unloading every problem, every complaint, and every crisis onto your shoulders. Now don't get me wrong, it's human to need support. We all go through tough times and lean on the people we love. That's what relationships are for, right? But the emotional parasite takes it to another level. They don't just lean on you, they crush you under the weight of their constant negativity. And here's the kicker. They rarely, if ever, ask how you're doing. Imagine this. Your phone rings. It's the same person calling for the 3rd time this week. You answer, and before you can even say hello, they're rattling off their latest drama. Maybe it's a fight with their spouse, their job stress, or how the world is unfair to them. And you're sitting there listening, trying to be supportive, but deep down, you feel drained. Sound familiar? Now let's talk about why this is such a big deal as you get older. Your time and energy become your most valuable resources. You're no longer in a place where you can just brush off someone draining you. You feel it more deeply. It's emotional fatigue, and it's real. Studies even show that constant emotional stress can affect your physical health, from raising your blood pressure to weakening your immune system. And let's be honest, at this stage of life, You deserve to protect your well-being, not sacrifice it for someone who can't see beyond their own issues. So, how do you know if someone's an emotional parasite? Here are a few signs. They only call when they need something, never just to check in on you. They never take your advice, but they keep coming back with the same problems. You leave conversations feeling worse than when they started. Here's the hard part. Sometimes these people can be family. It might be a grown child who treats you like an ATM for emotional or financial support, or a sibling who turns every conversation into their personal venting session. And you feel obligated to help, right? After all, family is family. But let me tell you this. Obligation is not love, and sacrifice is not the same as support. So what can you do? Start by setting boundaries. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but boundaries are just another form of love. Love for yourself. Try saying something like, "I care about you, but I can't take this on right now." And then stick to it. Remember, it's not your job to fix someone else's life. Your job is to protect your peace. Let me leave you with this. Life is too short to spend it carrying other people's baggage. You've done your part. You've been there for others. Now it's time to be there for yourself. Let the emotional parasites go and watch how much lighter your life feels. Type 2. The chronic critic. Now, let's move on to the second type of person to steer clear of in your later years. The chronic critic. You know the type. No matter what you do, it's never good enough. They've always got a better way, a different opinion, or a not-so-subtle jab that leaves you questioning yourself. Picture this. You're excited to share something you've been working on, a new hobby, a recipe, or even a simple decision like redecorating your living room. But the chronic critic swoops in with their unsolicited opinions. Why would you choose that color? It's too bold. Or, you're taking up painting. Isn't that a little late in life? Their words might sound harmless on the surface, but over time, they chip away at your confidence. Here's the thing about chronic critics. They're not offering constructive feedback. They're projecting their own insecurities onto you. And as we age, we become more vulnerable to their negativity. Why? Because this is the time in life when we should be celebrating who we are, not questioning our worth. You've lived through decades of experiences, triumphs, and challenges. You've earned the right to make decisions without second-guessing yourself. And let's be real, chronic critics can often be family. Maybe it's a sibling who never stopped competing with you, or a child who thinks they know what's best for you now that you're older. It's tough because their criticism can feel personal, like an attack on your very identity. But here's what you need to remember. Their opinions are not facts. Just because they say it doesn't make it true. So, how do you deal with these people? First, don't engage. Respond with neutral phrases like, "That's an interesting perspective," or "I'll think about it," and move on. Don't let their negativity take root in your mind. Second, limit your exposure. If certain conversations always leave you feeling worse, it's okay to spend less time with that person. You're not being rude. You're protecting your mental health. Finally, surround yourself with encouragers. These are the people who see the best in you, who celebrate your achievements, and who make you feel good about yourself. And if you don't have enough of those people in your life, seek them out. Join a club, pick up a social hobby, or reconnect with old friends who bring joy to your life. Let me leave you with this thought. Criticism is cheap, but encouragement is priceless. Don't let the chronic critics rob you of the joy and self-assurance you've worked so hard to build. Your life, your choices, your happiness, they're yours. And no one else gets to take that away from you. Type 3. The manipulator. All right, let's talk about the third type of person you need to avoid as you grow older, the manipulator. Now, this one can be tricky because manipulators are masters of disguise. They're not always overtly toxic. Sometimes they come across as sweet, caring, or even selfless. But don't be fooled. Beneath the surface, they're working to control you, usually for their own benefit. Manipulators use a whole arsenal of tactics to get what they want. Guilt trips. That's their bread and butter. Subtle threats. A close second. They might say things like, "I've done so much for you. How can you not help me with this?" Or, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this one thing." And before you know it, you're saying yes to things you don't want to do, all because you feel obligated. Now let's dig into why this is especially harmful in old age. As you get older, your focus should be on enjoying your time and maintaining your independence, not being manipulated into someone else's agenda. Manipulators can rob you of both. They might push you into decisions that benefit them but hurt you, like signing over finances, taking on responsibilities you can't handle, or prioritizing their needs over your health and happiness. Let me give you a common example. Imagine a grown child who only calls when they need money. They paint a dramatic picture of how desperate they are, how only you can save them, and how they'll pay you back as soon as they can. But guess what? That payback never comes, and the cycle repeats. Sound familiar? Or maybe it's a sibling who tries to guilt you into leaving them a bigger share of the inheritance. They'll spin stories about how they need it more than anyone else, or how you're being unfair if you don't comply. It's emotional manipulation at its finest. So, how do you break free? The key is recognizing their tactics and standing firm in your boundaries. Here are a few phrases to keep in your back pocket. "I understand that's important to you, but I can't help with that." "I'm sorry, but I have to prioritize my own well-being right now. Let me think about it and get back to you." Notice how none of these responses leave room for argument? That's the point. Manipulators thrive on your hesitation, so don't give them the opportunity. And here's the most empowering part. You are not responsible for anyone else's happiness. Read that again. You've spent enough of your life giving to others. It's okay to say no. In fact, it's necessary, because when you set boundaries with manipulators, you reclaim your freedom and protect the life you deserve. Type 4. The negative. Nancy or pessimistic Paul. Next up, we've got the fourth type of person you need to steer clear of. Negative Nancy or pessimistic Paul, if you prefer. These people are the ultimate energy vampires. No matter what's going on, they'll find a way to put a dark cloud over it. Got good news? They'll downplay it. Got big plans? They'll warn you about all the ways it could go wrong. Spending too much time with them feels like trying to swim while wearing a backpack full of rocks. Now let me be clear, life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. We all have moments when we feel down or need to vent. But Negative Nancy takes it to a whole new level. They live in that negativity. They thrive on it. And worse, they want you to live there with them. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've picked up a new hobby, maybe gardening or yoga. You're excited, feeling good about trying something new. But here comes Negative Nancy. You're really going to do that? Isn't it a little late to start something like that? Or, that sounds like a waste of time. Suddenly your excitement is gone, replaced by self-doubt. That's what negativity does. It sucks the joy out of your life. Now, why is this particularly damaging as you age? Because positivity and optimism are directly linked to better mental and physical health. Studies show that people with a positive outlook are more likely to live longer, healthier lives. Negativity, on the other hand, can drag you down emotionally and even take a toll on your body. At this stage of your life, you deserve better than that. And let's not forget, Negative Nancy could be someone close to you. Maybe it's a lifelong friend who's always complaining, or a spouse who sees the worst in everything. Or perhaps it's a child who constantly brings up all the problems in their life without ever looking for solutions. These relationships can feel like a heavy burden. So, what can you do? First, limit your exposure. It's okay to take a step back from people who constantly bring you down. Second, shift the conversation. When Negative Nancy starts complaining, try redirecting with something positive. I hear what you're saying, but what's something good that happened recently? Sometimes they'll take the hint. If not, it's okay to end the conversation politely and move on. Finally, surround yourself with positivity. Join groups or activities where people share your interests and bring light into your life. Whether it's a book club, a walking group, or simply spending time with people who make you laugh, these connections can act as an antidote to negativity. Remember this: your mindset shapes your reality. Don't let someone else's dark outlook dim your light. You've come too far, overcome too much, to let negativity take up space in your life. Choose joy, choose optimism, and most importantly, choose people who lift you up. Type 5. The self-absorbed narcissist. Finally, let's talk about the fifth type of person to avoid as you age: the self-absorbed narcissist. If you've ever dealt with one of these people, you know how exhausting it can be. For them, the world revolves entirely around their wants, their needs, and their feelings. And where does that leave you? Usually in the shadows, ignored and undervalued. A narcissist might seem charming or even loving at first, but their true colors show when things don't go their way. They have little to no empathy, and they're experts at making everything about themselves. Whether it's a family gathering, a phone call, or even your personal milestones, they find a way to hijack the spotlight. Here's an example. Imagine you're sharing a story about something important to you. Maybe a health victory or a new hobby you've picked up. Before you can even finish, the narcissist interrupts with a bigger, better story about themselves. Or worse, they dismiss your experience altogether, saying something like, "That's nothing compared to what I went through." Sound familiar? Now let's talk about why this behavior is especially harmful in old age. Narcissists are incapable of offering the genuine emotional support you need. Instead of lifting you up, they leave you feeling invisible and unheard. And the truth is, you deserve to be seen and appreciated, especially after all the years you've spent giving to others. The narcissist might even be someone close to you, like a grown child who constantly demands your attention but offers nothing in return, or a sibling who turns every interaction into a competition. These relationships can feel one-sided and draining, leaving you questioning your worth. So, how do you protect yourself? The first step is to recognize their behavior for what it is: a reflection of their own insecurities, not a judgment of your value. Once you see through their tactics, it becomes easier to detach emotionally. Set boundaries, and don't be afraid to enforce them. For example, you can limit how often you interact or how much time you spend in conversations that always turn toxic. And here's the most important part. Focus on the relationships that reciprocate love and care. Spend time with people who listen to you, value you, and make you feel good about yourself. Because at the end of the day, you deserve to be surrounded by people who see your worth, not just those who use you to inflate their own egos. Let me leave you with this. Life is too short to be an extra in someone else's story. It's time to be the main character in your own. Choose people who make you feel seen, loved, and appreciated. You've earned it. Conclusion: choosing peace over obligation. So, here we are, my friend. We've talked about the 5 types of people you need to avoid in your golden years: the emotional parasite, the chronic critic, the manipulator, the negative Nancy, and the self-absorbed narcissist. If any of these descriptions reminded you of someone in your life, don't worry, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not powerless. Here's the thing: letting go of toxic people, even family, is never easy. It's not something you do out of anger or spite. It's something you do out of love. Love for yourself, for your happiness, and for the life you've worked so hard to build. This isn't about cutting ties recklessly. It's about making thoughtful choices to protect your well-being. Now let's talk about what happens when you take that step. When you release the weight of toxic relationships, you create space in your life. Space for peace, joy, and authentic connections. You'll notice things start to shift. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more in tune with what truly matters. Here's what I want you to remember. You are not defined by the people you let go of. You're defined by the love, wisdom, and resilience you bring into every moment of your life. By choosing peace over obligation, you're choosing to honor the incredible person you've become. And let's be real, you've earned that honor. Take a moment to reflect on the relationships in your life right now. Who makes you feel valued, appreciated, and respected? Those are the people to treasure. And for those who don't, it's okay to let them fade into the background. You're not abandoning them, you're prioritizing yourself. And that's not just okay, it's essential. As you move forward, I want you to hold on to this mantra. I deserve relationships that bring peace, not pain. I deserve to be surrounded by love, not negativity. And I deserve to spend the rest of my life with people who see my worth. So, go ahead and take that first step. Whether it's setting a boundary, limiting contact, or simply recognizing who needs to stay and who needs to go. Trust me, your future self will thank you for it. Let me leave you with one final thought. Your life is your masterpiece. You've painted it with courage, laughter, tears, and countless memories. Don't let anyone smudge the canvas. Choose people who add beauty to your work and watch as your golden years shine brighter than ever. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope this message inspires you to take control of your happiness and protect your peace. Remember, your best days aren't behind you. They're still ahead. Now go out there and make them count. You've got this.